Okay, this tutorial is going to be about radial blur, and there's two different ways you can achieve this, and I'm going to show you those two in this. These are really good effects for if you're trying to achieve like a hyper zoom effect, like if you're trying to zoom in really fast and blur everything else around a subject. So see, we've got this guy on the headset. If I scroll through, I'm going to get a shot to where he's about right in the center of the screen, so about right here, and I'm going to go over my effects and presets, and I'm going to type in RAD for radial, and I'm going to apply this CC radial blur. Now I'm working with the CC radial blur, not the original radial blur. I just like this effect a little bit better, and I can either drag it on here or I can drag it onto my layer source here in the timeline. I'm just going to drop it here, and you'll notice that my effect controls come up over here, and I can select a couple different types of the radial blur. So I can do a straight zoom, fading zoom, centered zoom, and these other ones. I'm going to show you the fading zoom. Feel free to experiment with the other ones. But what we can do is, now that we have them in the center, I want to apply a keyframe, and I can either do that from here if I click amount, or I can drop this down and also do it from here in the timeline. So I like to add them from the timeline, although sometimes for the initial ones I'll click the stopwatch up here to add it from there. But from here I want to take it up to about 100. Now this is a pretty intense effect, so it might work your computer a little bit, and I'm going to add a keyframe right there when he's in the center of the screen. Now if I come back a little bit, we're going to go back to about right here, and I'm going to put this on 0. And now when we play back from the clip, you'll see where the radial blur will be enabled with these keyframes. So you can see it goes in. Now if I go back to this keyframe, I can take the amount up, and it'll increase the amount of the radial blur that's around. So we're about 202 now. So if I go back here, I can play it back and see it zooms in there and gives us this nice effect. So with the computer sitting here processing this, if I need to, I can change the resolution even further than half. Or I can go here and try to make some settings changes, but notice that we've got it all previewed here when I've also brought down my work area. That also helps too, because if you have your work area all the way extended, After Effects thinks you're trying to apply the effect to the entire clip, which can take a little bit of time. So if we watch back here, this is all real time, show you the effect, and then just reset back to the beginning. So that's the CC radial blur. If you want to do an even quicker adjustment, you can do this fast blur. So if I drop this down here, we'll see that I now have 2 effects, and I could go up here, disable this radial blur, and I can choose a center, so where I'd like the effect to be applied. I'll drop this down, and then we can change the amount and then the type of zoom. So if I go here and click this button here, I can change where I want that effect to be. So let's just click on his face here, and then I will apply that center there, and then if I move back just a little bit, we'll put the amount at 0, and then if we use K to go forward to this keyframe, we'll put the amount at about 150. Then if we go back, you can see the effect is now revolving around this anchor point. So let's go back here and then play it back. So you can see that effect. So this is almost one of those kinds of effects you'd see in like The Flash or one of the other TV shows where they have a lot of effects. So that's the CC radial blur, and we'll continue on in our effects journey.